Alright, so today I'm going to tackle one of those jobs that whenever I do a rebuild, that's the least favorite, other than paint part, and that is Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of the 2010 Mustang rebuild. If you guys remember last week when we were working on the interior and we still had some work to do on the gear shift lever, so let's start off doing that. Remember our problem with this gear shift lever? It kept coming up like this. Well, I popped this little bottom piece off here, it comes up, and there's a hole right here. See it right there? And then one on the other side, and there were 2 screws laying inside there. So here the screws are. I'm going to put a little Loctite on those and put them back in, and then snap that back down, and that should solve that problem. It's supposed to go like that. That goes down in there like this, and then the screw goes in there with some Loctite, and those things shouldn't work its way back out. Then you just pull that back up and snap it in there. Alright, so that's fixed. That's pretty easy. Will not come up now. So now all I gotta do is figure out a way to get this thing off. I might try to use a little heat, see if that's just got adhesive on it or whatever, but that needs to come off and be sanded down and painted.
A few moments later.
Sorry guys, I forgot to video this. I was trying to get that center plastic piece off. What I did is I got a heat gun and I just gently heated it up, just to make it kind of flexible. And I put a screwdriver underneath right here. Pops the bottom up, and then the top part slides out. So you can see the little tab here and how that part slides in there. Well, there's a little piece on this tab that broke off, just a little lip on it right there. So when I put that back in, it's probably not gonna want to latch. So I'm probably gonna end up using a little piece of 3M tape, like right here on there, and you know how strong that stuff is. So hopefully that'll work. If not, I'll try to find another one of these, but I doubt you can buy that by itself. There's no number on it or anything. Anyway, now I can at least get it clean and get it painted. Okay, another thing I want to do today, sorry about the wind by the way, it is super windy, is if you remember this emissions line, I think is what it was, some kind of vacuum was broke when we cleaned up the engine the first time. So I did get a replacement, all this to here and then over to here. So let's get that installed and then start it up and make sure it runs nice and smooth. I don't hear anything weird, that's good.
Welcome to the Mundane Minute.
Alright, we have another update on the edge. Just got all the cooling system installed. And believe it or not, like I said earlier, every bolt that was tore up and just on all the destroyed pieces was in that pile of stuff right there. I did not miss one single bolt. So everything's connected. I got antifreeze in there. So we're getting ready to try to start it for the first time, and no, I have not tried it yet, so let's see what it does. Oh yeah. Woohoo. Man, I was hoping that worked. After you change the wiring harness and change all that stuff in there, you always worry about something not being connected right. So at least it started, and now I'll let it warm up and check the transmission fluid and all that, because this has a transmission fluid cooler. It runs up through here and in the top part of the condenser there. Well guys, it's a little cold today, but I need to get this interior mostly back together today anyway, so I'm going to open this thing up, drop the top, and then try to get the SRS module in and the on the seats and just see what else we can get done on the interior. Alright, so I've got the pile of parts here I need to reinstall. Here we have the SRS module, just got back from safety restore, and this is the steering wheel airbag, brand new, and the rest of the console parts. So let's start by installing the SRS module. Alright, so the SRS module is reinstalled. Everything's bolted back where it goes and hooked back up where it goes, all the plugs and stuff. So now let's, before we put this thing together anymore, let's clean it. It's nasty. Get a vacuum out here and wipe everything down and clean it up, and then put the top back on and then get the steering wheel back in. Alright, so I've got all that clean, and now it's time to, before I put power to it, I want to go ahead and get that airbag installed on the steering wheel, and then we've got to turn the power on so I can get the gear shift and move backwards enough to get that top of the console on. Alright, so let's hook the power to it. And then the airbag light still won't go off because I don't have the seats hooked in. But at least we can start it and make sure there's no anything weird with the modules like blowing up or anything. Check the horn. Right. Alright, so the console's back together. Let's go ahead and clean it all up, wipe it down. It's still, we never did clean the black stuff, so let's do that. And then we'll put this passenger side seat in, hook up the power to it, and then the driver's side, hook the power up to it, and then make sure that our airbag light has gone off. Alright, so everything's plugged back in. Let's hook up the battery. See if our airbag light goes out. And it came back on. So what we'll probably have to do is hook up the scanner, clear all the codes, and then see if it goes back off. That clicking sound is the CD player trying to suck in a CD. I don't know if it's just doing that after we hook the battery back up, or if it does that every time we start it. We'll check that out here later. Alright, so I've got my scanner. I'm going to hook it into this OBD port. Alright, so we're going to scan. Just what it's doing is just scanning the whole system. And we're not really worried about what it says right now because we're going to clear all that. So what we really care about is when we clear it all and then scan it again, what do we get? Okay, so there was 11. Alright, so we're going to do a quick erase right down there. So now it's erasing each fault, and then when we start it again, we'll see if we get them back. Okay, so now it's erased all of them. Let's go back through and check, make sure they all say pass. Oop, fault, PCM power train control module. Alright, now we're gonna start it back up, and we'll see if that light goes out. Alright, no airbag light now, it is out. I guess I need to check the pressure in the tires and maybe that light will go out. Then we'll be clear.
12 seconds later.
Alright, so put the air in the tires and the lights are out. All I got is the open door light. So we're good. And now we can shut this thing off and button it up and get ready to start working back on the engine bay. Alright, so today I'm going to tackle one of those jobs that whenever I do a rebuild, that's the least favorite other than paint part, and that is grinding. We got to grind all these spot welds down from where we cut those out last time and straighten up the metal that we got bent, like right here, and just anything that's not exactly right before we put this upper radiator support back in and weld it in. So let's start this thing up and we'll move it into the shop where we can work better. First we'll probably go ahead and get all the radiator and fan and all that stuff out first, just to get it out of the way. And I went ahead and got a new crash bar. This one is bent a little bit. Probably could have straightened it some, but I'd rather just have it right, because a lot of times when you put your bumper on, your little foam pad, and then your bumper on after that, if everything's not exactly the right height or distance out from the frame, then nothing fits right. So I want this to fit easily and correctly whenever we get all the gaps to be right. So let's move it in the shop. All right, let's start this thing up, get the top put back up, and get it inside the shop, start grinding. Watch as I disappear behind the giant pile of trash that I've been cleaning out from my shop. Alright, so I've got this thing in the shop, and I think I might back it back out and take these hoses loose on the radiator, go ahead and get all the fluid out of it so I don't make a mess in the shop. Then we'll get it back in here and remove that stuff, and then probably start right there trying to get that metal straight.
A few moments later.
Alright, so we've got the fluids drained, so let's go ahead and remove all this stuff and get the rest of the fluid out of it, and then we'll drop it back inside. I don't know how, but the camera kicked off in the middle of me removing all that stuff. Sorry about that. But everything is out, and I realized when I was taking this out that there is an oil cooler in this thing. A little bitty cooler right here that these two oil lines hook up to. So I need to take that apart and at least get that hooked back up before I can start it back up. So I've ordered everything else there. I didn't know there was an oil cooler in there, so let's go ahead and get that apart. Alright, so here's this oil cooler. That thing is pretty nasty, so I'm going to go ahead and power wash that while I've got it out. It's easy to get to, and I'll tape up those ends so I don't get any water up in there, but I'll blow out all those coils so it'll cool better.
What are you doing?
Hey, I'm just getting ready to put this little baby up on the wall of fame. Gotta drill a hole in her head.
Oh?
Whoa, she's slippery. You remember all the stuff on the wall of fame? We got from the very first 2013 Mustang, the weird picture. We got the chicken chunks from the Solstice, the grill from the 66, the little fan connector from the 13-year Mustang, the wrong terrain, blacked out terrain logo from the terrain wreck. We have our new one, the Jeep Paul's, since we hooked to a hammer, so it's indicative of the job that he did on his Jeep. Then we have the Edge logo with the, I don't think we talked about this. This was only what we talked about on Instagram. So that's why they need to follow us on Instagram, because we talked about what did the Edge hit. We found that X embedded in the grill of the Edge, which we think was from an Xterra, right? So now we got this little baby. He's going to take her rightful place up on the wall for the 2010 Mustang. She'll probably come back to haunt me for this. Screw in the back of her head. Alright, I think I've got this thing about ready to start back up. I've got wires hanging everywhere from like stuff I've got wired up to hold up. I've got the antifreeze reservoir wired up. I've got that cooler wired up, and I don't guess that is an oil cooler. I think it must be a transmission cooler because there's red fluid that came out of it. And I've got the power steering reservoir wired up, so it should all be okay to move just the short distance I got to go inside. Then we'll start bending some metal and grinding some metal. I'm glad I did that outside to keep from making a mess in here. The first thing I'm going to do is remove that crash bar, or rebar some people call it, because it's got a little bit of bend here and it's bent that flange back and stuff, so I just want it straight. So we'll try to get that off, and that'll also let me be able to get inside there more to grind out welds and weld those holes back up over there before we start putting the radiator support on. So I've gone through and gotten what bolts out that I can on here, but these are so smashed right in here that I can't get any kind of tool on the bolt. So I've got to go get a grinding wheel and like slice here and try to bend this back up so I can get on the bolt. This one and this one is the same way. So while I've got somebody going to get me a grinding wheel, and before they get back, I'm going to go ahead and clean up these spots here. Get that smooth, and go ahead and weld those up. Those were knocked out from the bracket that got knocked off right here and here. And then grind these off here and just get it generally cleaned up, ready for new weld. And then I'll go ahead and start grinding all those spot welds off there and these over here. Then I'll try to bend that out straight. Alright, that's not perfect, but that's close enough to where I can clamp that radiator support to it and weld it, I think. So let's go ahead and get the new one in here and dry fit it on there and just kind of see where everything's lining up. Alright, so I have the upper radiator support kind of mocked in and clamped in. Got the two braces down there below those brackets. Got those clamped in. So what I need to do now is see if I'm even close on where my spacing is between my holes for the fender. So I'll clamp it from the other side and bring a fender in and just set it on there and see if this hole right here lines up at all. If it does, then I'll move it in or out to match that. Alright, so that was super easy. I just set it on there and the hole lined right up. So I didn't even have to move anything. So that's where that side needs to be. So I'll need to mark that in here with some white paint marker so I get it exact same spot when I get the fender back off and get ready to weld. And then we need to do the same thing over here. And the only problem with this fender, I remember, is it was bent right here. So let's do a little bit of straightening on that and make sure it's close so that we can at least get our measurement. All right, so this side over here was a different story. When this thing was hit right here, I think it twisted that whole fender. Matter of fact, you see a little bump right there, which means that whole thing is twisted in here. So my hole doesn't line up and I can't even get it in there straight enough to make sure I know where it is. So I'm gonna have to order another fender so I can at least get that measurement right before I get all that welded in. Hate to wait, but I don't want it to be off any, so I have to pause for now until I can do some other stuff on here. Hey, did you see that GT350R Nico Brothers got finished with the other day?
The one that got stolen?
Yeah, it was sweet. Hey, did you hear that?
I think it was a horn.
It was a horn. Somebody's outside. Somebody's in the Mustang. How would you say that? The horn's honking in the right direction.
It's a good point.